Hello and welcome to this week's episode of My CP Does Not Define Me, where we focus less on the dis and more on the ability of what we can do. Join us every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, live on www.letgoradio.net and on Facebook Live, where I always say, if you can't be good, be bad, but be good at it. What's up, everybody? It is D to the J with the roll away. It is Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, and guess what? It is that time again. It is episode 35. Can you believe it? 35. 35 of My CP Does Not Define Me. Hope everybody is having a wonderful, super duper, not cold day, because I tell you where I'm at, it is freezing. It is cold. It is turn your heat on and put on 2 pairs of socks. That's how cold it is. I am so happy to be here today. We have a great guest. She's a great friend of mine, and I want to introduce Miss Shameaka Smith. She is fantabulous. I can't even think of the words to describe how wonderful this person is. How you doing, Miss Shameaka?
I'm good. How are you, DJ?
As I said earlier, I'm hanging in there like a rubber chicken on a rope set on fire. That's what we gonna go with.
It is snowy here in Maryland, and I am in the house trying to stay warm and comfy.
I tell you, it's cold. We ain't got snow yet. We're supposed to get a little bit, but it's cold. Hey guys, hey Renee, how you doing? Hey Josh, hey Nikki, thank y'all for tuning in. I mean Raina, I called her Renee. Lord have mercy, she's gonna get so mad at me. So for all of our guests that are just tuning in right now, Shameaka, would you do me a favor? Just introduce yourself. Tell us where you're from. Tell us what type of disability that you have and how it affects you.
I am Shameaka Smith, as DJ said, and I am a 32-year-old individual with spastic quad cerebral palsy, and what that means is that it basically affects all 4 of my limbs. So it affects my entire body, so to speak, and that just means that it affects my motor function. And if you know anything about motor function, it affects those small things like the ability to be able to sit up, and sometimes the ability to control my tongue and speech, and just sometimes even head control and posture of the body for that matter. But in spite of that, my mind is still active, and I just finished my gazillionth college semester at Prince George's Community College here in Largo, Maryland. So I'm happy about that. Of course, everything is virtual, so that's been a challenge, but otherwise, life has been good.
All right, so we're gonna get into that a little bit too. I know I was gonna say, I like how you explained how your CP affects you, because a lot of people don't talk about the muscle control, and it's one of those things where, and I notice with me, when I get tired, I'm like, and the head wants to drop. It's just I have pretty strong muscles because I train, but I can tell you, I can relate. Sometimes sometimes the drool wants to come out, the tongue don't want to work, the fingers don't want to work. It'll shut you down.
It will. And at night, I wear a hand splint that I actually bought from Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
Because if your hand stays in a fisted position for too long, your wrist can actually lock in that position. Yeah. And I want to be able to use both my hands for various things. I play video games, I type on the computer, I open my medication bottle, so Um, I do a lot with both my hands, and I want to be able to maximize every avenue that I have to do so, and for as long as I can, and with the help that I have here at home from my mother and my father, I'm going to continue to do that.
Mm-hmm. Now, are you predominantly left-handed or right-handed, Shameaka?
I am a right-handed power chair driver.
Okay. So you are in your power chair most of the time, correct?
Yes, and I do have a standing frame that I use every other day.
Mm-hmm.
I drive my parents crazy about it, but if I don't do that, um, I can potentially develop blood clots from not moving my legs. And
That right there is a biggie. And I'm glad, again, I'm glad you said it, because the ability to move and the ability to be able to move, that your freestander that you're talking about, and you use that, you said every other day. How long are you in your stander?
I have braces that come all the way up to my thigh,
Mm-hmm.
so I put those on, and they take on most of the weight that my legs couldn't tolerate if I just stood on my legs by themselves without any support. So I can stand anywhere from an hour to maybe 2 hours, sometimes
Okay.
2.5 if I'm doing something
Right.
that occupies my mind and I'm not distracted by standing.
Right. Having to think about standing. That's, yeah. When I was little, I had a prone stander, and I was in the prone stander for, I think I was in mine every day for a while, until I built the strength of my legs up. Now, are you able to, if you hold on to something or someone, are you able to bear weight on your legs with
Yes,
help?
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And that's another reason why I stand, because we don't have space for a Hoyer lift here in
Hmm.
my house.
Hmm.
So I have to be able to bear weight on my legs. Otherwise, I will have to move a group home. And for those who don't know, a group home is a home much like the one I'm in now, but support workers come in and they have several individuals that are taken care of at the same time, and they are supported most times one to one or one to every two staff. But when you're there, you most likely won't use equipment like the standard I have now. So I'm very, very blessed to still be at home at the age of 32, because most people my age don't live at home. And I'm very, very blessed to have two parents that are still able to care for me on a regular basis, as well as caretakers who come in and help me and help my parents with me.
All right.
So
So let's talk a little bit about your childhood and as you were growing up. I mean, from based on what you remember, what was it like growing up with CP? How did you adapt with school? How was your home life? What was that like?
okay, I went to James Ryder Randall Elementary School in Clinton, Maryland. Shout out to my educators there if they're watching. I The school itself was I don't know if you call it co-ed, but they had special ed and regular ed.
Mm-hmm.
Special education is a specified curriculum for those of us who have developmental disabilities. And what that means is that we learned at a separate pace. We learn the same things, but at a different pace. And we have individualized education plans, otherwise known as IEPs, that specify our goals and just the things that we mastered throughout the years. Um,
Yeah, y'all see how Shameaka making my job easy. I ain't got to say much of nothing. She just in there going with it. I want to welcome everybody as they're tuning in. Hey JP, hey Josh, hey Michael. Thank y'all for tuning in and commenting. I'm gonna get your comments up here as they come through. So now you were talking about the IEPs. Now, did you? I'm pretty sure you had an IEP in.
I did.
Mm-hmm. Were you in mainstream or mainstream and special ed?
Yes, I was in a mixture of both.
Mm-hmm.
Once it was determined that I could be in a mainstream classroom, I was put in one class, and that was an English class,
Mm-hmm.
to just basically see what I could do. And I thrived in that one class, and it was determined that I could still have an IEP but function in a mainstream setting.
Now, I'm going to ask this question because I don't think I've ever had the opportunity to ask this question on my show, but I'm going to ask it because the situation has, shall we say, presented itself. How did you feel, or did you feel any type of way, being in a mainstream and a special ed class? Did it feel different to you, or how was it for you?
No, because honestly, it starts at home.
Mm-hmm.
What you do with your child at home and out in the community when they're not at school determines who they will be when they're at school. And when they're in a regular education classroom. So obviously, yes, I knew that things were different, but I adapted to the environment um, because I was just raised that way. I had no choice.
Okay. Can you elaborate on that a little bit? What do you mean you had no choice?
When I say I had no choice, I mean it was just innate. It was natural. It wasn't something that I was forced to do. It was something I chose to do, as opposed to getting a certificate of completion. I chose to fight for that diploma, and nothing against anyone who has a certificate of completion,
Mm-hmm.
but I chose to get that diploma because society looks at that in a way and determines um, it is we need to work. Basically, if we choose to, for example, get jobs, those simple things require certain skills, and I I dare say that it's sometimes difficult to learn something later in life than it is to learn it while you're young and early. So I encourage all parents out there to just push your children, know their potential, and don't let certain educators tell you that your child can't learn, because we can learn. It may take a lifetime, but we can learn.
Well, one of the comments that just came up, and I actually posted it up here, there were two. Miss Wilson said, "When you can adapt to situations, it makes life so much better." And I love the fact that you fight for what you believe in and you fight for what you want, because it was something that you said that was very, very, very special, for parents to push their children and realize the potential of their children. Some parents will shelter them because they're afraid of what society may think.
I would agree. I would agree. And like I said, my parents didn't treat me any different. When I got in trouble at home, I got in trouble just like any of my other siblings. I was actually put in a corner one time when I was younger for saying something or doing something that I shouldn't have said or done. So, I mean, it's those things that build the foundation for children with disabilities when we're young that tell us that no, you're not any different from so and so. You're gonna do this, and when you do it, you may not like it, but it's gonna prepare you for the future.
Exactly. Exactly. Well said, Shameaka. Let me ask you this now. As far as you communicate well today, and you're able to get your point across very well. You spoke at conferences, and you've done many things, and I've seen you just thrive in life. What were your friendships in school like? What was did you have close friends? Did you have people that you were close to?
Yes, I had several peers. I had maybe one or two close friends. I would say that I get along with everybody, but I don't have very many close friends. I get along with everyone, but I I'm very careful who I let into my personal space, especially as I've gotten older.
Right.
I tend to relate honestly better to adults just because I've been raised by older adults and I've been told that I have an old soul. It doesn't mean that I don't relate to younger people that are my age. It just means that I guess you would say my level of maturity or the ability to be pushed in a direction comes from um, people who are older rather than people who are my age.
Right. The younger generation. Miss Wilson said this. Yes, don't let the school system dictate to you what they feel is better for their child. But yet, as a parent, if you know and is watching your child at home, you should know yourself what's best for your child. And I think that's well said, because your personal space, talking about your personal space and how you interact and all of that is very important, because you have to be careful who you let in. Now, as I say this, you went to, was it school with Miss Wilson's daughter, with Kelly, right?
I did, yes, yes.
So Miss Wilson has known you from a very, very early age.
Yes. And we actually went to aftercare together. Aftercare was and is a place for individuals with disabilities who need care after school. And what that provides is the opportunity for the parent to get off work and come pick up their child or children and be cared for by staff who are trained to do what they do. And here it's called Maryland National Capital Parks and Planning Commission. And that's how we met.
So from the time that you met Kelly and you met Miss Wilson, and I know, I've known her not as long as you, but I've known her from a little, about almost 3 years now. Talk about, the impact of Kelly and the impact of Miss Wilson on your life from the start of your journey.
Kelly is absolutely a fireball. She is fun. She is just a joy to be around. She smiles all the time. And you really have to listen to Kelly because she has something to say every day, and she will surprise you, and we all will because you just never know with us. You can assume, but you never really know. And Miss Wilson is an absolute joy. She has really helped me throughout my life. I can remember one time our van lift broke down at my aftercare facility. Um, Mr. Kerry Wilson, her husband, actually fixed the lift. I forget what he did to this day, but he did something and he got us home. So I'm happy about that. And even more so, bringing us up to date, you know, our group that we have on Fridays is absolutely helpful. And I would just like to say, Miss Wilson, I really do appreciate the fact that we have an advocacy group because it's given me something to look forward to here at home with us not being as active as we were out in the community.
Right.
Being engaged with something positive to look forward to.
I love the way you said that. Now this question, we talked a little bit about it, and again, Miss Wilson, she always comments. That's what I love about it. She says, "Right, so amazing. We're always doing something for someone," and it's so true. I love the way you think. I've always loved the way you think. Every time you speak, I say, you have something powerful to say, and people listen. But the question that I want to ask you today is, and in being, live on Let Go Radio and Facebook Live, talk about, some of the mental struggles that you have with cerebral palsy and some of the things that you deal with.
The mental struggles.
The mental. Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I would have to say just being the only child here at home now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It has been an adjustment. Um, I am a very family oriented person. I love my family. I love being around my brothers and sisters, and um, I've had to adjust from having a house full of noise to it being very quiet and just me and my parents. And don't get me wrong, I appreciate my parents to no end because when my brothers and sisters left, they could have said, you know what, you're getting out here too. So, but they didn't say that. They kept me here at home with them, and everywhere they go, I go.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm never neglected, never mistreated. Of course, I have growing pains like any other adult, but um, I've been very, very blessed to still be here at home with my parents. Both of them are healthy, both of them are whole, and I really do appreciate that. Now, that doesn't mean that I sometimes don't get lonely without my other siblings here. Um, and I'm gonna just be real with you. I have struggled with that, but especially with not being able to go out in the community, I use that to sometimes distract myself from what I didn't have. So I would go certain places just to, get away from the thought. But when Corona came, I could no longer do that. I couldn't get away anymore, so I had to find a way to adapt once again, and adapting is something that I've been doing my whole entire life.
Right,
So
right. Hmm.
um, it took me a minute because when Corona first started, I didn't want to put on a mask. And my mother and father said, you know what? If you're gonna go out this house with us, you're gonna either have to put on a mask or stay home. And I was given that ultimatum, and I chose to put on a mask. So when I did that, it gave me the confidence that I needed to go out in the community and show people that even with a disability, you can wear a mask and still function. And a big part of that is my faith. And honestly, before Corona, I wasn't really reading the Bible like I should have been, but I have tried to more and more every day now. And
Hmm.
I use a Bible app called YouVersion, and it's an audio Bible as well as a written Bible, and you have devotional plans. And I try to read one devotional plan every single day just to give myself something to think about, something that has a foundation. Of course, God is the foundation that provides everything that we need, even in standing still.
Right.
And shout out to my pastors, Pastor Granger and Joanne Browning in their absence. And shout out to Ebenezer AME Church in here in Fort Washington, Maryland. And shout out to the Exceptional Persons Ministry of Ebenezer AME as well. And having that element of faith is what has kept me grounded because without it, I would have perished long ago.
Well, let me just say this. There's a couple things I want to go back to because there was a couple of comments that I showed up here.
Okay.
Miss Wilson talked about. She said there was no way we could have walked away from the van situation. So she knows what you're talking about there, and she remembers it. She said, "Corey, the fix it man." But here's one that I also want to talk about too. Miss Wilson said this: mostly an a empty nest from a whole household is a huge change. Like Kelly in the like have experienced. So here's where I wanted to ask you, but I wanted you to finish your statement first. What was, and of the struggle, she said, sure, of course, that would be a struggle. What was it like for you in the transition of, the house full of noise, the house full of everybody, and then you go to, almost the empty house with just you and your parents?
It felt very, very lonely. Honestly, it felt as if my siblings were leaving me, but at the end of the day, I knew that they had to move on with their lives as well as myself. I had to, and I'm still having to find my own identity. That is the biggest part of having a disability, apart from
Mm-hmm.
the caretakers who take care of me, apart from, the people who see me at church and at school. I had to find out, and I'm continuing to find out who Shameaka is.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just say that that is the biggest part of me being here at home by myself, of course, with my parents, finding out who Shameaka is in Christ and what her purpose is.
So going to something you said, finding your identity with all that's going on, with all that you've been through, and I know that you're a strong believer in Christ. We both are. How would you say that you were able, at least some of the ways, to find your identity?
Well, just being able to venture out on my own, of course, in safety, and of course, in having, I don't know if I told you, but in the year 2019, I was in a community uh, living support program that actually, oh, I had a one-on-one who supported me in doing the things that I wanted to do
Mm-hmm.
out in the community on a regular basis. So because I live here near Washington, D.C., I was at a museum last year almost every day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it was my responsibility to um, find the place that I wanted to go, book transportation, go there. Um, of course, I had to book it in the morning to and from, so I had to know what time I had to be back here at the house so that my aide could go home. But just having that responsibility gave me a major sense of self.
Mm-hmm.
When Corona hit, I um I say that it basically hindered my development in a certain way because everything that I was doing I could no longer do because obviously Corona prohibited uh, the museums that are closed now, and just being able to be amongst people. We can't even do that anymore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Know anything about uh, social and psychological development for us, especially in having disabilities, any type of isolation is not good because it basically hinders development. But at the end of the day, I had to learn that staying at home was for my safety. And as I said, reading the Bible was and is a major part in knowing what my identity is because without that, I wouldn't have any direction.
Mm. I understand that wholeheartedly. Now, there was something here, and I kind of want to go off of what you just talked about a little bit. Miss Wilson says, as a parent, it's hard to let go and accept that your other children would leave and want to leave at some point as a younger adult and live their own personal lives. Hearing you talk about your independence and going places and being able to schedule transportation and being able to live your own life, kind of. I mean, yes, you're still with your parents, but you have your daily task and the things that you have to do. It sounds like to me Corona hit you pretty hard in a state of, what do I do now?
It did, and honestly, I had to find my ground again
Mm-hmm.
because um, it left me here in the house, and of course, when I was out, my parents had their space, and I had mine. So it not only gave me the opportunity to be who I was, but it gave them the opportunity to be who they were outside of parenthood. Because when you constantly parent a child with a disability,
Mm-hmm.
especially as they get older and don't or might not develop as your other children do who don't have disabilities, it can be very, very disheartening because you say, when will this child grow up? Or
Mhm.
what is going to happen to them if something happens to me? So it's not just about me per se, but it's about their mental health too. And, so
It's both. It's
it's
both.
both.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
um, it's about finding that balance. Because if you don't have a balance, um, your parents won't have a life. And if they have no life, their child with a disability won't have a life.
You know,
Because
I listen to you speak about that, and it's so amazing to hear you talk about the what you want for your parents as well. That's so humble, Shameaka. Miss Wilson said this: as a parent, you knew then life too for you will change as well, and we would have to find balance in life and make a whole lot of changes because at that point, you have no one at home, anymore. Life gets real, and I totally get where she's coming from with that because there was something you said, and I'm going to bring up a couple of points. We're going to hit real here for a minute, as you said. Hey Kim, thanks for tuning in, sweetheart. Appreciate having you. I just, your dedication to your parents makes me so proud. I mean, and this is one of the reasons why I love having you on my show because you're welcome, sweetheart. You're showing people that your parents matter to you. Their independence matter. How they feel matters. That they get time by themselves matter. And I think that is so awesome. You spoke at a conference recently, and I was blown away by something you said. And I'm trying not to get emotional because the way you said it was so powerful. Um, I remember you mentioning this, and I literally I had to stop because I had to take in air. It was such a a powerful thing for one thing, but it was so meaningful to talk about. You talked about being able to want to contribute to household chores and wanting to be able to do things at the store. And you said this. You said, I want to be able to bring a loaf of bread home to my parents to show that I can contribute too. And it it really kind of, I was just blown away. It was like almost running into a wall going, man, to hear the passion of what she wants to do for her family, to be able to contribute to your family, that was so powerful.
thank you. And like I said, living here at home with my parents doesn't mean that I don't have growing pains because I am I'm a lion when I speak, and sometimes I have to be reminded that you know that what I say may not always be right, but for the most part, I try to put things into the proper perspective, um, and know that my parents are the reason why I'm here where I am today, and I just appreciate them so much. And um, sometimes in the midst of being an adult and trying to let them have their space as well, it can create a tug of war
Mm,
because I want my independence, but without that space to be independent, I won't continue to develop. And what I mean is, by me being here at home, I am very, very relaxed.
hmm
So some of the things that I would do if I were out in the community, I don't do here at home simply because um, when I'm home, I'm still their daughter, but when I'm out there, I'm an adult, and I want to show them that it's possible to be a daughter and be an adult, and sometimes trying to be both of those things here at home create difficulty for me and my parents
Yeah.
because um, having an adult living with adults is not easy.
You know, for the people tuning into this show, what Shameaka just said, and again, this is life. What she's talking about right here is life. Miss Wilson said this: your feelings and thoughts are real, but you do have respect for your parents in the midst of wanting to be on your own as well. That right there, to me, makes you such a unique person and such a dynamic individual. Do you think, and to ask you this question, I hope I ask it the right way. Do you think your parents know how you feel and how much respect you have for them?
Honestly, um, no, to be honest with you, because they see the Shameaka that is sometimes combative against what they want and what
Right.
I want. And like I said, that is because when I'm out there, I'm an adult. But when I'm here, I'm their daughter all over again.
Mm-hmm.
So it creates this friction because I want to be both or one more than the other, not just for myself, but for them so that they can have a life of their own. I mean, I want the full gamut in life. I would like to be married someday, and I would like to have children. But the reality of that won't come until I learn to fully care for myself because it makes no sense to go out here and have relations with somebody when I can't even care for myself.
Well,
So
there's two things I want to say to that. Miss Wilson, again, I love her comments because she's right on with it, and the others that are commenting as well. Kim, that was a beautiful comment, and I'll read that as well. But Miss Wilson said this: because she has respect and appreciation while wanting her own independence. That's a very fine line that you have, and I think for you, for when I ask you the question, do your parents know how you feel about them and the respect that you have for them? One day be sure that you tell them, because I would love for them to hear that, because that is so powerful to hear you say it with the tenderness and the heartfelt love that you say it with. And that's how you know that it's real. It's an amazing. There are thousands of kids out here, with disabilities or not, and there's so many kids that don't respect their parents, and that want and want and want and give and give and give. But you have respect and admiration and love for your parents, and that is amazing in how you show it. But you also respect their boundaries to want more for them, and that's so powerful.
it's simply just realizing, what they've done over the years. I don't know if I've shared this on a public platform. As a matter of fact, I haven't. Um, a couple of months ago, I was taken to the doctor for a routine physical, and I found out that I had tachycardia as well as high blood pressure.
Mm-hmm.
high blood pressure is something that runs in my family. So um, we were concerned, and so was my doctor. But the tachycardia was another thing. For those who don't know what tachycardia is, it just means that I basically have a fast heartbeat. So,
Okay.
to make a long story short, they wanted to do a cardiogram on my heart, and that's basically an ultrasound.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the heart and make sure that everything is well. And just to let you all know, everything is well. But I went in to have the echocardiogram, and I laid on the bed, and I heard my heart.
Mm-hmm.
And in that moment, I started to think about life and how God has really kept me over the years because it could have been another way. I could have had so many other reports that came from the doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Glory be to God. My echocardiogram came back well. And when you hear your own heartbeat, you're reminded that God is the one that sustains it all. He is the one that gives us life and provides the life that we have. No matter how much we think we might sustain ourselves, He is the one that sustains us.
I agree. I agree. Mm-hmm.
I I really do thank God for that, and it was in that moment that I realized that hey, things could be a whole lot different than they are. So I get frustrated and I get um angry sometimes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But when the word of God is deep down in you, um when you do something wrong, it will convict you if um the word is deep down in you, and I I just began to realize that everything that God has done. Um, Romans 8:28 says, all things work together for the good of those who are called according to his purpose. So I do believe that, and I do receive that. And this trial has reminded me of that because
Mm-hmm.
um, it's one thing to say what you believe, but it's another thing to actually live what you believe. And to this day, I'm living it, and the Lord allowed me to go through that to, experience His grace and His mercy. And I dare say, for no other reason am I here today.
Well, let me say this because we've got a little bit of time left, but
Okay.
you are a phenomenal speaker. And I know Miss Wilson has told you this, and I know she has said it several times, but I just want to for a biblical context reaffirm or show affirmation to this.
Mm-hmm.
Your story needs to be heard. And the way that you tell it and the way that you show it is phenomenal. Finding inner peace with something that you've struggled with or that you feel from. We're all human, and we have this kind of this tendency to go back and forth a little bit. It's like, okay, I'm gonna get there. Oh well, I don't know this, but you have stayed steadfast as long as I've known you. Like you said, that you struggle in certain things, but I would love for you to either create a blog or something to just, even if it's just little videos of 10-minute words of affirmation or something about your life that started out negative but turned out positive. People can be inspired by you because I'm telling you they are. I am. I am so inspired by you to hear this from you and the way that you've detailed that story, especially to go through something medically that is, you start messing with the heart and you're like, oh, okay, that's we getting into the whole piece now, because it's all of that. And you told it so beautifully and so well. Please put it out there because it needs to be heard, Shameaka. It really does.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate that. And I plan to. I need to actually finish my book. People have been encouraging me to finish it and get it out there, and by God's grace and mercy, I will. And if I can shout out Pastor Donnie McClurkin, and say, if you're watching this, I love you. I absolutely do. For those of you who know me, you know that he's been absolutely key in my faith. Sir, you have absolutely made sure that I knew who I was, and I pray that you know that you are just phenomenal and you are needed in the kingdom of God. And I appreciate everything you've done, not just for me, but for others around this world. And I look forward to seeing you soon.
So I've got two questions left that I want to ask you. The first one is, if you look at Shameaka right now, if you look at yourself now, and you had an opportunity to go back and talk to the younger Shameaka that was going through all she was going through and figuring things out, and just going through life, trying to figure stuff out. With what you know now and with what you've learned by the grace of God, what would you say to the younger Shameaka, or to the younger viewers that are struggling out there? What would you say?
I would just say that don't let society define who you are. You don't have to be like anybody else to become like society wants you to be. Psalms 23:37. I hope I'm quoting it correctly. Says the Bible says that the steps of a good man are ordered. So what that means is that every step we take, no matter how long it takes us, in that particular sequence, everything that we do has a specific order and a specific timing. So no matter how long it takes you, just be encouraged that the Lord is with you. And I would say that that's my biggest advice, just knowing that God is with me in everything that I do, in the smallest of things, no matter how insignificant it might seem to someone else. God is there. He is here with me now. Even in the midst of being at home without my siblings, I've had to realize that when they were gone, he was here, and maybe that's why he allowed them to leave when they did. The importance was to know that he is with me no matter what goes on in my life.
Wow. Wow. How can we reach you through social media, Shameaka?
My Facebook is um, my Facebook name is Precious Mika, Precious space Mika. You'll see Shameaka Smith in parentheses. I am also on Instagram as Precious underscore Meekness. That's MEEKNESS. Precious Meekness on Instagram.
Well, I've got to tell you, it's an honor. It's been an honor to have you on my show, and I want to thank you for hanging out with me this past hour. And I just we've been friends for a while, and I notice, and again, I've said this before. There's a humbleness about you, which I know where it comes from. I know that God does that, and He is continuing to shape you into the magnificent woman that you are becoming and that you're going to be. But I will say this, that the more you tell your story, I know the more people want to hear it. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for tuning in to My CP Does Not Define Me. Very quickly, I can be reached on Facebook at D_J Carter Jr. I can be reached on That's all right. I can be reached at YouTube at My CP Does Not Define Me. I can be reached at, just hang with me, Shameaka, because I'm gonna talk to you after too. I can be reached at Chairmaster Games, at Worth the Wait, Cooking with DJ Carter. My blog is CarterDJ85 at wix.com/mysite1, and my Instagram and Twitter are MyCP Does Not Define Me, and then Twitter is at Minion Sports. So again, thank everybody for tuning in right now. Janelle, we were so glad to have you. Thank you for tuning in. We really appreciate it. All these folks that's tuned in, please, please, please go find Shameaka. She is so awesome. Go add her on Facebook. She is a wonderful person to talk with. Her hair always looks so nice, and she got pretty earrings on today. So we're so glad to have her. All right, guys. So let me get this intro out here for you. We will definitely see you next week at 2 o'clock Eastern Time for My CP Does Not Define Me. And I always say, if you can't be good, be bad, but be good at it. All right, everybody. That's going to do it for this week's episode of My CP Does Not Define Me. But don't worry, you can catch us again next Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on www.letgoradio.net and on Facebook and YouTube at My CP Does Not Define Me. Remember, I'm your host, D to the J with a roll away. And if you can't be good, be bad, but be good at it. We'll see you next week.